they got quite a few cards here. First off, it's the ID, the Brain Damage ID. What do you think? Okay, so
Oh,
yeah, I have a previous video on this as well, and my conclusion was that you can build a brain damage or hand size reduction based deck. But the real question is, do you think it would be better in HB engineering the future?
honestly, with most, my theory on most HB decks is after you play through them, you're like, I could always use one extra credit a turn, play engineer in the future. Same, it's even more so with this. This identity does punish the runner, but indirectly it punishes you. The fact that almost every deck is splashing legwork, and one legwork could almost access your entire hand. And this deck wants to run advanceable traps, not just necessarily like snares and other non-advanceable traps.
Yep.
That a legwork could just wipe your hand clean if you're flooded very easily.
Yeah, that's a very good point that I didn't think of. Well said. And yes, on the advancement threats part, I think that will be a major part of this deck. And actually, one very interesting is that because the runner starts at 4 hand size, um, some people have been suggesting using Mushin no Shin with Cerebral Overwriter, and that can be crippling because you can get 4 advancement tokens on the Overwriter, bringing the opponent down to 0 hand size. And that's the big difference between this ID and any other HB ID. The ability to reduce the runner to 0 hand size with 1 trap.
Correct, and that is what's going to make this identity, I think, see some play is the
Yep.
potential interactions not only with Cerebral Overrider but the Valley Grid, and I can see even some identities here spending the 4 influence on potentially Chairman Hero for potential hand size flatlines.
Yes, and with so many ways to tutor assets nowadays, yes, it can definitely see that happening. And the best thing is it's a small deck. It's the 40 minimum deck size. So your if it's a combo based deck, there's a higher chance of you drawing your combo, which is always nice.
Correct. It's just generally you have to offset that by wielding more powerful 3 point agendas, but if you can protect them at least well enough that you're setting yourself up very well for the potential flatline.
Yep. All right. So yeah, I like that there are lots of ways to play this ID. So we'll see what people come up with once this pack gets released.
Great, I might even play around with it a little bit myself because I like the interaction with Valley Grid and Chairman Hero.
Oh yeah, you are so sadistic. I love it. All right. So in that kind of deck, would you play the next agenda, self-destruct chips?
Absolutely. Just throw self-destruct chips first turn with the Mushin Ocean that we were discussing,
Ooh.
and they either run it and they get a 1 point agenda. They don't run it, they have a 3 hand size, or they run it and they hit a Cerebral Overrider. It kind of seems like a lose for the runner all around with this. I did this agenda out of the new identity.
Yeah, that's true. I really don't like the fact that it's 3-1 though. In a deck that is already so small and having a greater than normal agenda density. I'm not sure if it works very well, but yes, when it does hit, it is brutal.
Yeah, if this hits, it is quite game changing because at that point it leaves you on 4 cards and them on 3, and even out of engineer in the future, if you're looking to try to make this agenda work, it could still work as well.
Yeah, and many people don't realize that when your hand size is lower, it's not just becoming one step closer to getting flatline. It really constrains the options you have during your turn. Like when I play prepaid kit, I know I want to have all those options cards in my hand, and having a 3 hand size that changes everything.
It really does, and especially if they have a damage that they can do to you on their turn, that you have to always be conscientious of it, and
Yes,
the fact
definitely.
that even just one less hand size takes away Anarch's biggest defense of just holding the iPad worse if HB wants to try to put together a scorched variant, just kill deck.
Yeah, turns that off as well. That's pretty huge. All right. Uh, Another HB card. This is a Trap Ice that allows you to trash hardware. So if you're not picking any AI breakers, you can potentially get your hardware trash by this ice, and there's nothing can do about it. What do you think?
I wish it was one influence. That's my biggest gripe with this card. Is this card screams Wayland to as an option to play over Taurus to get rid of those pesky Plascrates to help you
Yeah,
burn down the
this
runner's house, but that two influence is a rough splash in a deck that already is having to pay a lot of influence on their eyes.
yeah, good shout. That really does look like a Wayland ice, isn't it? Totally should be. My
Oh,
big, sorry.
they, no, I was just saying they don't want Wayland to have infection hardware trashing without some kind of drawback.
Mm, that's a fair point. And Taurus is pretty decent anyways. My personal
Correct.
gripe about Lapdog is that it's strength 0, which means that you can insta parasite it with clone chip or SMC, and that's just awful.
Yeah, having to spend two to force a parasite's not a big deal for a runner because most time you see parasites are going to have a clone chip, they're going to have tons of recursions or answers forward, and out of Anarch they'll have clone chips and deja vus, so it's just often a dead draw. Even at zero strength, one strength would have saved it.
Yeah, at least force the Grimoire out. Uh,
Correct.
yeah, I mean, I don't like the fact that prepaid Kate got away more or less scot free with this one. Because hardware trashing can cripple prepaid Kate quite a bit. I was hoping this would be the solution to it. Well, it is the parasite says goodbye to Lapdog. Oh well,
Poor doggy.
yeah, uh, the HB dogs haven't been getting very good treatment, sadly.
Nope.
I still remember this card, Hellion Alpha Test. I'm not even sure if you remember that it
Isn't
even
that one
exists.
with the weird trace that trashes something?
Oh, you remember it? That's great. Kudos to you. Yep, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, no one
It's
ever
the
plays it.
it's the dog like in the alleyway with the flashlight on it, right?
Yep, you got that right.
Yes. All right.
Score one. Alright, moving on. Another HB card, Oaktown Grid. The trash cost of cards installed in this server is increased by 3. Hmm, not so sure about this.
Just completely underwhelming, especially when it's a region and not and
Oh
HB got
right,
their
it is the region. Yeah.
very powerful region last data pack with Breaker Bay Grid, and if I'm going to choose between Oaktown Grid or Breaker Bay Grid, it's Breaker Bay Grid every day.
Yep, definitely. With Adonises and Eves infection, I'd rather rest them for free.
Yep, and that's going to give more tempo to you than just increasing the trash cost by 3.
Yep, indeed. And the worst thing about this is some people have pointed out that it does not have the same wording as red herrings. The trash cost does not. It seems like it does not stick around if the runner decides to trash the Oaktown grid first, and that's quite annoying. Which
No,
basically,
it wouldn't because this card is affecting the cards installed, and if it's not installed anymore, it's not affecting the card. So you could just trash this first. It affects itself, making an effective trash cost of 4, but the fact that it already has a low trash cost, meaning that if you see this in HQ or R&D, it's just a completely dead card.
yeah, that yeah, that's the other issue. The thing is, say if you have this installed with an Adonis, if the runner trashes the Oaktown grid first, they pay 4. The Adonis doesn't cost 6 to trash. It goes back down to 3 because the Oaktown grid is gone.
Correct.
So that really makes it no go. I mean, just play encryption protocol instead.
Yeah, even encryption protocol is better. And that's free res too, and that affects all of your res assets.
Yeah, agreed. All right. HB has been getting a lot of love this data pack. The 5th card in a row. This is Beyond Knight. Deal 1 brain damage during a run. Would you slot this in your brain damage deck?
No,
Nope.
I don't need more reasons for the runner not to run last click.
Yeah, I do like its synergy with Brain Taping Warehouse, which came out earlier. It really forces the runner to think carefully about which click they want to run on.
Correct, but oftentimes, say they run into a Bioroid, they can just I don't know because you can use them during the run. I can see this having some functionality with Brain Taping Warehouse, but at the same token, Brain Taping Warehouse feels a little janky to me, to where you're having to pair two janky cards together versus just good play and just install advancing to bait a trap instead of trying to bait them with one brain damage.
Yep, very well said. I have to agree there because I haven't seen brain taping being played much, and there's a good reason for that. And the other problem with Rion Knight is if you're already telegraphing a brain damage deck, say you're playing the new HBID, you install an upgrade in the server, uh, people will know better than to run last click on that server. And if they don't run last click, they get to access your server, they'll just trash this card. So it's not going to do much good.
Yeah, if he would have triggered even on one of the last two clicks, I think it would have been a little too powerful. So he's just one of those cards where it's hard to find
Good balance point.
a
Yeah,
good balance for. Correct.
I agree with you. All right, so sad, but I guess brain damage is pretty powerful. That's why they have to limit it this way.
Yeah, I would look forward to someone finding an effective way to get Rion Knight to fire more effectively. But right now, I'm not at seeing it outside of setting it up with some brain taping shenanigans.
It again, it boosts hourglass. I'm not sure how much that says, but it could be good against hourglass because it basically forces you to break the hourglass, and if you don't, you get forced down to 0 clicks.
Yeah, and that will do a brain damage at that point if you can't break the hourglass.
Yeah.
And
So
the general strategy against hourglass was to run it last click, so which is
precisely.
that actually pairs much better than brain taping then.
Yep.
Because hourglass is 5 strength, right?
Four. Yeah, four strength. But the biggest benefit is that he has three subroutines, which most code gates don't boast. Most code gates only have one subroutine. So yeah,
Very true.
it can. Yeah, suddenly hourglass becomes a pretty good taxing ice for HP. We'll see if it becomes viable. What I am really disappointed with is the next piece of ice, Clairvoyant Monitor. Side game, it's a 4 for 3 code gate. The fact that it dies to York instantly aside, it's just so underwhelming an, an effect. I mean, one advancement token, sure, it might help if it's the last click and you have an agenda on the board. What are the chances, really?
Yeah, it's the situation where this ice is powerful is generally this feels like a win more card to me for the corporation. It's where Jinteki already has that terrifying remote set up with Caprice, and you're having to push hard to try to get in there, running in with maybe like a breaker, expecting like just an end the run, and you bump into this, and they get to advance their Nisei for free. It's just not the card that Jinteki needed already. They run Codegate heavier and pretty vulnerable to Yogg right now.
Yep,
That this doesn't benefit their ice suite at the moment.
yep. I couldn't have said it better myself. It really is a win more card. I mean, I wouldn't play in Nisei Division. I mean, yeah, it's quite narrow in use indeed. And one thing worth noting about this card is that just like Tenet Institute, it seems like you can advance any card, not just advanceable cards. So there's that. But otherwise, I don't see much use of this.
Yeah, you're right. The way it's worded, you can work just like Tenant, where you could advance any card and set up some trick of light play. But outside of the situation, there you're building a very specific deck. Like I'm thinking like the fun deck that I put together with Nisei Division and encrypted portals.
Oh, I like to see that. That sounds like a lot of fun.
But outside of a very specific deck like that, this is a very underwhelming ice.
Definitely. All right, what do you think of the next one then? Another Jinteki Ice. It's another code gate, but this time a very good ratio, 0 for 5. The catch is the subroutine is a mere I can't draw cards for the remainder of the turn. I being the runner.
In the right situation, lockdown is quite powerful. I feel to where that if you don't deal with it, you'll have to get all of your drawing before you want to run into this ice, which could be a very potential boon to personal evolution.
Yes,
To where
exactly.
oftentimes you want to draw up after you run, make your run first, or draw then run, and you have to manage your cards much better with this outside of a PE flatline deck. This definitely does hopefully push the direction of PE becoming a valuable deck archetype again. Because with it right not being very competitive right now, runners are just they feel that they can run them a lot more reckless, and there needs to be some answers to hopefully get runners to slow down and respect potential threats again.
Yep, definitely. Specifically with I've had worse. Lockdown just turns off I've had worse, and yeah, once again, um, as you pointed out, it works so well in PE because the usual play most of the time against PE is to run first or second click and draw up for your remainder clicks if you hit a snare or fetal AI. With this, you have to break the ice. I mean, you don't know what you're going to access beforehand. You have to break the ice first. And for that, a 0 for 5 ice that the runner is compelled to break feels pretty good. I like it.
Yeah, I like this a lot too, especially just I didn't even think of the interaction with I have had worse not even triggering that if an anarch faces this even into a deck that they potentially are worried about snares, then all of a sudden the flatline threat becomes a lot more real and they can't draw cards back.
Yep. All right. Yeah, so it's pretty good. Um, yeah, just to expand on that a bit, most people, I mean, most anarchs nowadays, once you have an I've had worse in hand, it's very easy to just do a very deep medium run, knowing that you will never get flatline because the I've had worse will save you. This should help, as you point out, help Jinteki P get some fangs back. Hopefully, we'll see
Yes.
more flatline Jinteki with this. All
We
right.
need some stab techie in our lives.
Yes. I mean, personally, I hate it when I play a runner and I get up against Step Techie because it's completely different ball game to normal net runner, but it's enjoyable all the same.
Yeah, it is definitely a mind game versus the false mind games of replicating perfection with psi games, quote
uh,
unquote.
yeah, I think we're all sick of that by now.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. All right, Little Engine, the only ambient card of the deck, of the pack. 5 for 7 code gates. Boy, they really are milking the code gates here. This has been spoiled before. What do you think of the 5 credit subroutine for the runner?
I like this card as an early gear check because this is, and even with most common code gate breakers now, that they're going to be either breaking even or sometimes even a net loss, not breaking the last subroutine. And I can see this just even comboing well with Toll Booth, having the runner say hit Little Engine first and then Toll Booth behind
Ooh,
it.
that's nice.
So I feel that Little Engine will see some play. It is pretty much I call it the little brother of Toll Booth because it's cheaper to res but more strength, but then it has the refund on it of 5, which is quite intense if you can find a way to break it quickly.
Yep.
And it's just David really tears us apart. So that's the only thing that I would be really afraid of with this ice is you spend 2 David counters in game 5.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of good points raised there. I have to agree with most of them. David is not so bad because at least it eats up 2 David tokens, so you only get one run through it. But yes, getting a 5 credit refund on what basically costs you nothing to get through, that's pretty awful. Yeah, I love it as the little brother of Tollwolf, and I hope it will land it. I mean, I hope more of such ice come for NBN because they really do need more taxing ice in order to become more competitive nowadays because of Clot. Hopefully, pairs well with Midway Station Grid, a card which we never see. Hopefully, more multi subroutine ice come out for NBN.
That's actually a very valid point. I didn't think of Midway Station Grid. That makes this ice actually very good because even if them paying 2, that's basically 4, and them only getting 5 back, and that's assuming that they have a breaker at strength. So
Yep, offsets the gain.
it does.
Yep. All right.
So yeah, I think we'll see Little Engine played with going forward if NBN has a nice potential glacier archetype coming because they have hinted at a barrier in the next data pack. So
Do they? Do they? Oh yeah, yeah. I think I saw that. Yeah, agreed. Hopefully, yeah, as you mentioned, more glacier style ambient. Might see more of that. All right, Oak Town renovation. We talked about this a little before recording this. This is the uh what do you call? It's an agenda that is installed face up that gives you money when you advance it. So, as Sniper, you want to give the summary of what we talked about?
yeah, absolutely. With this agenda here in Wayland, this is a very Wayland card. Even if you just take your turn to install this face up, advance, you're netting 2 credits. And a lot of times as Wayland, you have to see your windows when you have them. So when you install this, you're looking at the runner not having a window to steal this. And even if they do play, say, for example, a stim hack to get through your curtain wall unexpectedly, or recur a David to get past the curtain wall or toll booth that you're most likely going to be protecting this agenda with, then it's still a net gain for you, and that they've still had to spend resources that a lot of Wayland decks that are packing Scorched Earth still are going to be running mid seasons now. So this definitely gives you swings that edge back in your favor for the mid seasons. And then if they just let it go, you can advance this 3 more times, and it just makes it better than a corporate war.
Yes, it really does. Plus 8 credits, yeah, that's amazing. I don't think too many people will use it for the +3 if there are 5 or more advancement tokens on it. Seems not very. I mean, yeah, you don't want to leave it on the board for too long, but otherwise, it is a pretty solid agenda. Fits in with most Wayland decks because right now not many Wayland decks run traps anyway, so anything advanced has to be an agenda. Might as well just put it face up. No big deal.
Exactly. And I right now I see this agenda as a 2 for 5 that you get. So you'll get 2 credits every time you advance. So you spend one, get two. So it would be 4 credits, netting two for the first time, and then you advance it 3 more times. You net a total of, why is my math failing me right now? 4. So you're getting 6 credits from this agenda if you advance it 5 times, which is really good.
Yes, it is. Yep. I mean, the most important thing is that it offsets the usual tempo loss that you get from advancing agendas as the core. Agreed. It really helps with that. Right. Now we have Corporate Town. Going to round this off quite soon. This is basically a resource killer, but it has the big downside of forfeiting an agenda. I think this can be good depending on the meta. If you're expecting lots of resources, this can really put the hurt in someone with a loaded KT, someone with a professional context, etc. And the best thing is, unlike Snatch and Grab, it's not situational in that you need more credits than the Corp. I mean, runner. What you do need is the agenda, which is quite annoying. But the thing is, I think one of the biggest benefits of this is that you can actually install it and it threatens the runner. They basically have to trash it if they have a high value asset on the board. I mean, resource on the board. Otherwise, once you score an agenda, it's game time for the Corp. They can res it anytime and snipe off your valuable resources, and it cannot be prevented. So
Correct.
forcing the runner to spend 5 credits and a click to trash your corporate town is a win for you already. And I think that's pretty strong, even given the downside of having to forfeit agenda.
Right, and if they can't access it to get it trashed within a couple of turns, then if you are a runner relying on resources, then you're definitely going to be struggling, especially if your economy is resource based.
Yeah, you basically operate as though you are mid-season tech for the rest of the game, which is pretty awful if you are indeed relying on your resources. Anything else to add about corporate town?
Uh, I just wish it had about a couple more trash costs once it's res. That if they don't aren't relying on resources, that it's maybe just at that point you don't res it. So maybe I need to change my opinion about it and see if there's a powerful way that I can utilize this.
Yeah, it definitely is a card with lots of potential. All right. Okay, so let's wrap this up with some quicksand. Now, when I first saw this spot in the draft pack, I was like, my gosh, what power creep. the potential to have a 3 res cost like 10 100 strength barrier, that's insane. But maybe in this context, I don't think it's that powerful. With all the ice destruction going on with knives and parasites flying around, I'm not so sure this is that good. Do you think it's better than Wall of Static, which is also neutral ice, also 3 to res, but starts with 3 strength instead of 0?
Now this ice is really rough to get rolling, considering the fact that you don't get the power counter until it's encountered, and you can just insta parasite it before it's encountered and just nuke it before it starts growing.
Oh yeah, yeah, you can insta parasite it. Yeah, that is some. Once again, another insta parasitable ice. Goodness. Yeah, that's a good point. Uh, but yeah, yeah, I do agree with you. The thing is now. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to state if I feel this ice is strongest on a server that's going to be pressured a lot, so one of your centrals, that if it does start growing, then it does get very powerful very quickly.
Yep. It does seem quite similar to Next Silver in the sense that it grows in power as the game goes on, unless you have some form of ice destruction in your deck. And with Next Silver being so popular now, I don't see Quicksand being too playable because people are already packing lots of parasites and knives.
Right? If anything, you could kind of use this as a knife as protection against Eli for knife with knife, but at point just run wall static.
Yeah, and at three to res, it's a little too expensive to use as parasite bait. You'd much rather use a wraparound or pop up window or pub instead.
Yeah, there's a lot of more ice that are just as effective at zero cost.
Yep, indeed. I agree with you there. So that's Chrome City for you in a nutshell. Any closing comments on the entire data pack?
The closing thoughts, Net Ready Eyes is going to see a lot of play. We didn't come back to touch on Chrome Parlor.
Oh yes,
Chrome,
sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
so just Chrome Parlor, a lot of the cybernetics were quite underwhelming, so I don't see Chrome Parlor seeing a lot of play, because Net Ready Eyes is already, since it's going to be played out of Anarch most likely, that it's already offset by I've Had Worse.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to be the best way to take advantage of the 2 meat damage that you're inflicting on yourself to install. And for the Corp, I am very looking forward to potential brain damage or hand size flatline decks that are going to come from it. Hopefully, something competitive will spring forth to shake up the Glacier meta.
Yeah, very. Uh, yeah, I have more or less the same sentiments about this pack as you. That really ice is very powerful. Cybernetics are a disappointment. Brain damage archetype could be interesting, and some of the new ice is intriguing. It could see play, but otherwise, in general, just a very janky and slightly disappointing pack in general. Well, so that's all. Thanks all of you for watching, and thank you very much, Sniper, for your time.
My pleasure. Have a great day, everyone.
Yep, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Happy net running as usual. Goodbye.